Now tuned into the greatest.
So when that bag come, I won't fumble. I'm just stacking on the low, but hey, I'm tired of being humble. Let me get to it. That motivation music. Get control of your life, don't let nobody else do it. Cause when I gon' have Metro Ep.535 cruising. Feel like you winning on the.
Yes, sir. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. I appreciate you tuning in to the first interactive sports podcast, a community that makes sure your voice is heard. So if you hear something you agree with, you disagree with, you like or you dislike, hit us up on the voicemail line. And of course, we will play your take back on our next episode. That's 219-413-9405. And shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this episode. Get $20 off your first ticket purchase when you use the promo code The Run Podcast. Now, this code can only be applied for first-time users on the mobile app or website. So I don't know about you, but prime NBA season here, so you better go ahead, get those tickets and go to one of these games. I know the game a couple days ago, earlier in the week, was crazy. To kind of touch on this first, let's go ahead and get this out the way, and then we'll jump into the MVP stuff and all of that. But you had the Detroit Pistons playing the Charlotte Hornets. This game grabbed a lot of people's attention because it was a big brawl, I believe like early fourth or mid third quarter. And it was entertaining for me, and I enjoyed it. Now, there were some suspensions that happened, and a lot of people didn't think the suspensions were adequate for everyone involved in the fight. So Isaiah Stewart on the Pistons got suspended 7 games. Jalen Duren got suspended 2 games. Miles Bridges got suspended 4 games. Diabate got suspended 4 games as well. And a lot of people initially, what I'm seeing is complaining about why the Hornets players got suspended for more games than the Pistons players. And when you look at the video and you go back and play it, and for everybody on the live stream, I'm about to pull it up for you so you can see this as well. But on this video here, where the Hornets and Pistons got into it with each other, you can see here that after the initial spark that happened from Jalen Duren, everybody else cooled out on the Pistons. You had people cooling out. They were chilling besides one player, which was Isaiah Stewart. We seen he ran over there and obviously encouraged more interaction. I'll say it that way. But outside of that initial push, you see Diabate take multiple swings, which is called for. You get a game for each swing that you took. Yep, that's 4 games that you threw there. Miles Bridges, he continued to egg on this fight after it was cooled down, calm. And I know people were jarring at each other, but this entire time, Duren got suspended 2 games because he's bagging up the whole time. He's moving backwards. In a sense, that's regressing as he's still being targeted, as people are still fighting their way. Look at this. As people are still fighting their way to get to him, he's moving backwards. He's not egging anybody on. Then you see Miles Bridges come along, throws a sucker punch as well, doesn't land it, but it's still, it makes sense of why they got more suspension time than the Detroit Pistons. You could say, okay, well, Pistons started it, or Isaiah Stewart came running across the court doing this, doing that. Yeah, okay, I understand that aspect of it. But ultimately, Duren was the one that was bagging away. Meanwhile, you had 2 players on the Hornets who continued to go after him time after time. So I understand why they got 4 games. And Diabate threw multiple punches. So yes, he got the 4 games. And then Miles Bridges continued to egg people on when everything was over. It's chill. People are kind of dissolving the fight and everything. And then he goes back over to make this another situation. And then that's when you get all hell breaking loose. Isaiah Stewart is running from across the court. We not having none of that. And that's why he got the 7 games as deserved. But for anybody who's looking at this brawl or watched that brawl with the Pistons, and I wouldn't even say this is a brawl, really, bro. Like, I think we've gotten so soft, bro. Like, truthfully. We've gotten so soft when it comes to violence and not even violence, just like competing. We've gotten so soft when it comes to competing in the NBA and things getting physical. In every other league, it's damn near celebrated that guys are fighting. You look at some sports, it's celebrated. You look at the NHL, they literally break the game so people can fight. And it's cheered on like, oh yeah, get him. You got to grab his jersey and then do this and then swing up. Like come on, man. This is a thing people people hype up, and it's never ever spoken in terms of, oh, these hockey guys are so violent and just unbehaved and they don't know how to act, and this is insane for professional athletes to do. Okay, so why are we doing the same thing with the NBA? If we don't do it in the NHL, that's a physical sport. We don't really do it in the NFL. They do it a little bit, but some sports is praised. Other sports, you get drilled for it. Like, why do we do this? Why is that a thing? Because this fight here, I wouldn't even really say it was a crazy brawl or anything. It was just a bunch of pushing and shoving. It was a bunch of pushing and shoving. Outside of the initial reaction, when Duran mushed the hell out of him, to me, it was nothing that serious, bro. Like, it was nothing that serious where you should be suspending people for half the season like a lot of Hornets fans wanted. To me, this is a very soft thing for people to cry about and complain about, when in reality, we've seen things like this happen multiple times. And throughout the years of the NBA, this is nothing. This is nothing. So it's silly to me, and I understand. You know, some people feel the ways about the way the suspension was handled, but I think it's also a bigger message being sent here to the fans of the NBA and to the league. Now, we know it's a huge difference having Adam Silver as a commissioner, because, you know, people before him didn't really play that when it came to fighting, throwing punches and things like that, or even just change in the NBA. So we've seen this dramatic shift, but with Isaiah Stewart only getting 7 games for his suspension, Duran getting 2 games after he actually put his hands on somebody and mushed him, Diabate getting 4, Bridges getting 4 games. This, to me, seems like Adam Silver is, in a way, trying to tell people it's okay if you get a little physical. Like, it's okay. You're only going to get 7 games. If you're not involved in this fight and you're running off the bench, we only giving you 7 games. That's it. So, to me, I kind of get the message of, like, hey, this is a physical sport. This is what some teams do. People compete, and if things get out of hand a little bit, it's okay to push and shove. Like, it's ultimately gonna spark up conversations. I mean, look at this. We talking about it right now. It's probably gonna be the talk of the town all through the season, all through the week, and probably the following week. So I'm okay with this sort of physical play right here. And to me, man, I'm on board if Adam Silver is truly trying to tell people that it's okay to push and shove and play physical basketball, then I'm cool with that. Because a lot of times what we do, and you know, a lot of times this is what we do. And I see it so often where this happens with just narratives of this generation in the NBA being soft. I see it so many times. And I'm not really, you know, fans, I think fans are soft. As I said in the beginning of the take, fans of the NBA are extremely soft because this was just a bunch of pushing and shoving. But I think sometimes this narrative of the era being soft in terms of basketball play gets a little out of hand, because when we look at these clips from the 70s, 80s, 90s basketball, early 2000s, when we look at these clips from other eras of basketball, we see a lot of physical play that happens in the playoffs. I think if you were there at that time, you can remember some ticky-tack fouls being called in the 90s, in the early 2000s, and mid 2000s as well. So now that this similar thing sometimes happens in the regular season, I don't really see that much of a difference. And we know in the playoffs, it's always some more physical play. You see guys getting tossed to the ground, being pushed, shoved in a possession without a foul being called on these type of plays in the playoffs. So now that we pull footage from the 90s and 2000s and 2010s and things like that, and we say, oh, well, look how aggressive this era was. I think it's really like a false narrative being pushed upon the perception of toughness in today's game. Because if you look at the playoffs today, you clearly see that guys are playing very physical, similar to how guys were playing very physical as well in the 90s, in the early 2000s, and also in the 2010s. So I think there's peaks and valleys in terms of aggressiveness and what you can get away with and what you can't get away with. Some referees call a very petty whistle, if you will, and some referees let guys play. But I think it's definitely peaks and valleys, and it's not all as one-sided as a lot of people claim to me. So, you know, that's that part on here. So with this brawl, kind of going back and circulating that back to this brawl, I don't even want to call it a brawl. I don't know why. I don't even want to call it a brawl. This shoving battle, this shoving battle between the Hornets and the Pistons, to me, it was cool cool, but ultimately we got to let it fly, man. Let's move on. This is what we're going to see when teams are physical. This is what you get when you play the Pistons. If you see that DET on the schedule, just be ready to buckle up and fight. I'm going to say it like that, man. This has been this team's identity since they've been popular, going all the way back in the 80s. And that still seems to be their identity. And this is what they've done since they've crawled their way back to relevancy. So not only are they beating teams, playing great basketball, but they're also a physical basketball team. And truthfully, for anybody out there who's complaining about, oh, well, basketball isn't the same, and basketball doesn't do what happened to the game I love? All guys do is shoot threes now and call ticky-tack fouls. I understand that, but I promise you, if you watch the Pistons, it will re-spark that love that you have for basketball. I promise you. And I'm not saying this because I'm a fan. I'm saying it because genuinely they play good basketball. You see defense being played on a physical level. You see guys playing great on-ball defense. Hell, you'll even see somebody full court press at times. You'll see guys take mid-range jumpers, run screens, off-ball screens, get open shooters. I'm telling you, you see the full spectrum of everything you might have loved in the game of basketball if you watch the Detroit Pistons. So I'm going to just say it at that and leave it at that. So if you ain't watched them yet, you need to go watch them because they're a very, very good team. First in the Eastern Conference and second in the NBA right now. So great team, definitely on their way to, I hope, a great playoff run. I think this team has a lot of potential to go to the Eastern Conference Finals and ultimately the NBA Finals. But look, we got more to discuss because it's more than just the Pistons. There's an MVP conversation that's heating up, and we're kind of approaching that midway season point, and I want to discuss because I think we'll have a unique winner, and I'll also have a side note as well. So we'll touch on those things, but we'll come back to it in just a sec. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. It's halftime.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under-eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it, magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle Magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Don't wait. Order Plexiderm today. Visit Plexiderm.com/special. That's Plexiderm.com/special. Paid for by Sheer Science.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Run with me, Manny Wilson. I appreciate you for tuning in. Hit us up on a voicemail line, 219-413-9405. If you just want to leave a quick take, chop in on a conversation, hop in, whatever you do. Let's do this. So what we'll jump into is the news for The Run. And just to give a quick update on the NBA standings, if you haven't really been following, I know we're coming off the Super Bowl and everything like that. So some people, it's very difficult to follow at the same time. I haven't really been saying much about the NBA just because I don't want to overload you guys with content or streams and whatever the case is. Also, too, it's a lot for me to edit personally, but whatever. Anyway, the standings in the NBA, just want to give you a quick breakdown of kind of who's good and who to keep an eye out for, just to run down. So in the Eastern Conference, we had the Detroit Pistons, number 1 seed, the Boston Celtics, number 2, the New York Knicks at number 3. They are also tied with the Celtics in the amount of wins, but technically the Knicks have one more loss than the Celtics, which is why they're at number 3. But as you see, these teams are neck and neck for that number 2 slot. Number 4 is the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're 1 game behind the New York Knicks. They also have one more loss than the New York Knicks. The Toronto Raptors, 2 games behind the Cleveland Cavaliers, sitting at number 5. And the Philadelphia 76ers are 2 games behind the Toronto Raptors with 24 losses so far. And additionally, we have those play-in teams 7 through 10. Orlando Magic is there. Miami Heat is there. Charlotte Hornets, Atlanta Hawks are currently in the play-in, which means you got a lot of teams that are battling. But I don't want to discourage anybody from thinking some teams are good and some teams are not right now. Just because the standings are where they are, there's a lot of teams that are very, very close. So we'll see the 7 through 8 probably alter at points. I mean, teams have been getting hot. The Hornets they were just on a 9-game winning streak snapped by my Pistons, But that ultimately, things will shift for sure. So in the Western Conference, it's very similar. You got a lot of close teams. Like, they're just all very close to each other. Oklahoma City Thunder sitting at number 1 right now in the Western Conference. San Antonio Spurs, they are number 2. They're 3 games ahead of the Denver Nuggets, who are sitting at number 3. 4 is the Houston Rockets. They're a couple games behind the Denver Nuggets. And the Minnesota Timberwolves are currently at number 5 in front of the Los Angeles Lakers, who are sitting in that 6th seed. They're 2 games behind the Timberwolves at 32 wins. Currently, they have 21 losses, just to kind of give you an idea of where teams are. And then those teams who are 7 through 10 right now in the Western Conference, you have the Phoenix Suns, Golden State Warriors, Clippers, and the Portland Trail Blazers. Obviously, these things will shift. The Suns, surprisingly, have been playing really good basketball. A lot of people thought they were doomed after trading for Kevin Durant last year. But the Rockets, you see, they're trying to capitalize as best as they can with Kevin Durant and the other surrounding pieces that they have there. But anything can truly still happen. But just to kind of give you the same disclaimer, just because a team is in that play-in range of 7 through 10 right now does not mean they are out of the playoffs for sure, or they're not going to do anything. There's a lot of teams that are very talented and they play good basketball, but they've just been up and down, haven't been able to win some of these close games, especially in the conference. So it'll be interesting to see here. And then a quick side note, too, that I want to jump into before we move over to the MVP conversation is really the Cleveland Cavaliers. They traded for James Harden in a big trade at the deadline, and I thought it was, solid move for the Cleveland Cavs. Not mad at it at all. I think this is something that's ultimately going to help the Cleveland Cavaliers in the long run. And I think the Cavs can benefit from this. However, I think it's silly for me to sit here and say, though, that I'm scared of the Cleveland Cavaliers now that they traded for James Harden. Like, truthfully, when this trade went through, I wasn't very impressed. I wasn't over enthusiastic about it. I'm like, okay, Harden going to another team. That's kind of how I looked at it. Obviously, don't want to disrespect Harden. This man is still a bucket, averaging 25 and 9 or something. He still has some crazy good numbers that he's putting up right now at the age that he's at, above 35. So, definitely want to give credit to James Harden and what he's doing. However, I'm just not scared that Harden and Donovan Mitchell will go on a deep playoff run and go win a championship or anything like that. Because I look at things like, if you couldn't win with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Joel Embiid, Paul George, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, I don't think Donovan Mitchell will be the key that opens the door and takes you to the finals. I just don't think it will happen because I've seen this story before, man. I think Harden's a great player, as I've said, and it'll be very interesting to see how these playoff series will turn out now that there's Harden and Donovan Mitchell on the same team. But ultimately, if I had to choose, I still don't think they beat the Celtics in 7. Still don't think they beat the Knicks in 7. And I still don't think they beat the Pistons in 7 games. Now, this is not to say Donovan Mitchell isn't good or the Cavs aren't good. They'll be solid. But I'm not convinced, man. I'm just not convinced. Maybe I'll be wrong, which is why this is a side note, and I'm not trying to convince you, but I just find it very hard to believe that someone we've seen play with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Paul George, Joel Embiid, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, and now Donovan Mitchell will finally have a secret sauce that takes him to the NBA Finals. I just don't see it, especially as he's been getting older and older. And now he has to play a specific role with the Cavs, and I like the role that he will play with the Cavs in terms of being that primary distributor and allowing Donovan Mitchell to come off the ball. But I'm not sold on that, man. So that's that there. However, let's do this because we have an NBA MVP conversation that needs to be touched on, and sounds crazy, pause, but long story short, Cade Cunningham is going to win the MVP this year. Cade Cunningham, yes, Detroit Pistons Cade Cunningham is going to win the MVP this year without a doubt. And I'm open to all arguments, but hear me out before I say this. So I'm looking at other MVP candidates, and I think, the top candidates right now outside of Cade Cunningham is SGA. You got Nikola Jokic, Jaylen Brown, and Wemby is in there in like the books and the sports books and stuff. I don't really know why, because I don't think he'll reach that 65 game minimum, but a lot of people forget that is a requirement. So not only is Cade well-deserved because he's averaging 25 and 9 assists right now while shooting over 45% and also playing defense on ball and off ball on both sides of the floor. But Cade Cunningham is also available every single night, and he's played 47 games so far, which means he only has 18 more games to play to reach that 65 game minimum and be eligible for the postseason awards. There's 29 games left total. So that checks off in terms of Cade being eligible to win that MVP award. Now let's look at some of these other candidates here, because here's where it gets tricky. And this is a big reason why I say Cade will win the MVP, because he's playing great basketball on both ends of the floor, shooting a high percentage, and also he's available every single night. Now, some guys, they can't say that. They're playing good basketball, but they're not available every single night. Now, SGA, he's a deserving candidate. This is a guy, he's obvious. I don't even have to convince you how great of a basketball player he is and what he's been doing, but tremendous basketball player, well-deserved MVP candidate. However, he's played 49 games right now, and he's currently dealing with an abdominal injury, and he's still unsure how many games he will miss. So there is time that he'll come back and be able to reach that 65 game minimum. And I think if he wins MVP after, playing 65 minimal games, then it's well deserved for sure. I don't have anything to say about that. But one of the reasons I say SGA probably won't win that MVP again over Cade or the other candidates is because the longer that SGA is sitting out, the more we get to marvel about Cade Cunningham putting up these 30 points, 10 assists type of games while shooting over 50%. The more we get to marvel about Jaylen Brown cracking another 35-point game while shooting above 50%. The more we get to marvel about these other players, and also the more the SGA sits out, the more games he's going to have to play when he returns to reach that 65 game minimum, and that is a requirement to win that MVP. So we'll see what happens with SGA. That's one candidate. Nikola Jokic is another one. Come to the table, Nikola Jokic, dealing with the left ankle sprain. He already missed, I think, 2 of the 4 weeks that they anticipated. So right now, Nikola Jokic has 39 games under his belt. He needs at least 26 more games to reach that 65 game minimum to be eligible for the MVP award. The Nuggets have exactly 27 games left. So if Nikola Jokic doesn't come back immediately and play every single game, that MVP award, goodbye. It's out of there. It's gone. It won't be coming back. He's not going to be eligible for that award. And then that brings us to our next candidate here. The only other candidate I could really see another argument for, considering that some of these candidates might not reach that 65 game minimum, is Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, he's been playing great hoops, and I'm open to any arguments about Jaylen Brown winning MVP, even if it is over Cade Cunningham. But the only thing I'm not listening to about Jaylen Brown winning MVP is the fact that he's doing more with less because Tatum is out. I think that's silly to think that a finals MVP can't lead a team on his own, and that it's silly, that it's surprising to a lot of people that a finals MVP is playing this good, averaging 30 points pretty much. So if you really want to go down that route of he's doing more with less, Let's just think about it, because Cade has been doing that since he's been drafted to the Pistons. And we see how much coaching and 1-3 players have made in his career in terms of winning ball games and being able to close out ball games and things like that. So if you really want to go down that route of, oh, well, he's doing more with less. Yeah, that's why he has to get MVP. I think you need to start watching more basketball outside of the Celtics. I think you need to take a look around the league and look at all the other guys who's still putting up great numbers, but they might not be winning games. And in fact, there's another guy who's in the MVP conversation named Cade, who's putting up great numbers, and he's first in the Eastern Conference. And not many people expected them to splurge like they did, especially after losing Malik Beasley. So I'm open to any arguments outside of, oh, well, Jaylen Brown is doing more with less. That's why he needs to win. I think that's a lazy analysis. And no, give me some more information on why. Say he's averaging 30 and add to that fact. I'll give you that. But outside of that, no, man, I'm not doing that. But that's really why I say Cade has a slight advantage to possibly win the MVP. And again, going back to his play, it's been great. It's been great, man. This is a team just literally 2 seasons ago. This team won 14 games. Now they're first. So let's take it little by little. They won 14 games. And then now, the following season after winning 14 games, they turn around, make the playoffs, take the Knicks to 6 games. This year, they're first in the Eastern Conference. So I don't want to go on about the MVP anymore, and I don't want to drag this out. But I'm just saying, man, that Coach of the Year is obvious. Coach of the Year is obvious for who it should be. Because last year, I thought it was obvious of who it should have been. But they played him. But now, I think if Coach of the Year goes to anybody outside of JB Bickerstaff, this award is a joke. And it's a joke. So we'll see. But other than that, man, look, man, that's all I got for you guys today. So I appreciate you if you've been tuning in on a live stream, on the pod. If you're just watching on social media, you watch the clips or whatever, that's cool too. Hit us up at The Run Podcast on Instagram, at The Run Podcast on TikTok. Podcast The Run on Twitter. We don't really post the clips on there like that, but YouTube for sure, The Run with Manny Wilson. Definitely check out all the clips and the reels and things like that. But we'll follow up still with some offseason stuff in the football. I'll try my best to kind of dual sport it, if you will. But I really don't like to drag the episodes out, too long. I think I really don't want to drag the episodes out like way too long, because to me it just, yeah, man, we're not going to do that. Never. Other than that, man, I'm going to leave y'all on a positive note. And a positive note today is just going to be as simple as the only thing is permanent. The only thing that's permanent is change. It'll be a quote. And I've said it before, but the only thing that's permanent is change. It just means your situation terrible is going to get better. Yeah. So interpret that however you want to. And then you can really become a wise guy and think about it the other way as well. So just be prepared for the ups and downs. The only thing that's permanent is change. Outside of that, man, that's all I got for you guys. So I appreciate you for tuning in. Follow us on the socials. Thanks for tuning in. So we'll be back. Oh, shoot, it's about to be the weekend. All right, have a great weekend. We'll be back later on next week. And so on and so on and so on.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.